Yeah, we've been having this discussion on genius, the topic of genius. We did a talk yesterday, and now we've been here this morning and talking more about it. And yeah, I was wondering if you could speak on, we were discussing, or you mentioned that everyone has this capability or this potential of genius, but it's a matter of being able to tap into it or to open to it. So I was wondering if you could talk about, what's needed to let go of and sacrifice in order to cultivate genius.
Well, the question is useful to respond to because genius does imply sacrifice. So there's an esoteric value in genius when the way to it is to give something very valuable and important, like your ego, up in the process. And it's not that you wind up without ego, you wind up with a certain type of ego. See? And maybe the kind of ego you need to fulfill your genius, which in music means you have to have a certain sense of responsibility to music, to the field of music, and a certain sense of responsibility to the creative process that is music. It's a creative process always. See? And so if we're talking about genius, then we're talking about maybe not compositional genius necessarily, which is part of it, but let's say creative genius, and not so much as a product, but as a process. The process of creative genius. That's important. And so you have players throughout history who are known for their product. And I think getting to the product is sometimes easier to accomplish. Right? Often there were times when musicians would go looking for other musicians to copy their music or hear their music to learn how to play something or other, and then pretend that it's from them and that they are the originators, the composers of that music. But not true. So there's a lot of borrowing, a lot of copying, so to speak, in music, and maybe less originality in music. See, so this is also an aspect of what we were meaning to talk about yesterday. Is what needs to be sacrificed? What can you sacrifice to be the purest genius possible? Your inheritance of river of blood karma is capable of producing for you. And you're capable of being as yourself. A pure musician, right? A pure musical channel, see, rather than someone who is busy copying stuff from everywhere and pretending it's their music, let's say. Well, it's not bad to borrow from others. We're not saying it's a sin, no. It's a method of, let's say, accumulating knowledge to be able to perform in a certain way so that you can represent yourself or hold yourself up in a certain way. So be proud of yourself that you were able to accomplish that because you have an audience. You have an audience because you had a big ego, and you can go deeper. You can give up the big ego and then see what lies within you, which is the point of true and pure genius. What is the essence of your musical skill or ability or spirit, what we call genius, the demon? See, what is your purest form of that? See, is it music that's already out there? And in what way? Is it different from what the music is that's already out there? See, to distinguish yourself, to give you a better sense of what's needed for you to maybe add to the overall world of music, what the world has not seen or heard before, which is you, the you within you, the true, absolute, essential you, your spirit, soul, nature, as light itself. the part that I dig about the genius is you have to be your worst enemy and your best friend. You have to be capable of socializing and merging with others relatively usefully, with function or ambition or something. And then you have to be able to isolate and withdraw from everything outside to activate the inner circuitry of your true levels of genius that are pure and more or less to be considered your access to your divinity, where what you hear, you can't hear anywhere else but within yourself. It's not ego. There's no ego in this. This is your pure essential being. In tone, in light, in sound, in matter, see, in energy, see, in mind, and in world.
So once one is able to maybe get some hints of their own genius, and then does it require, or it sounds like you're saying that it requires a certain feeding, or cutting out of certain programs, whether that's maybe like sleeping less in order to feed it more, in order to build it.
We are talking about an activation of a straight wire within us. That's the phrase I like to use. It's a straight wire, right? Where you are that thing that you need to get to. It's within you. See? And it's a paradox, because it is you and it's not you. See? It is the best part of you, and then it could be the worst part of you because you never access it to the degree that you feel you need to, or at the level that you want to. See? And so then there is the discovery that we are capable of genius, and not something outside, but always present within. It's like your best friend. See, so there's this then chaos of sorting out what is the real genius in you. And as we know, there are gifted individuals and artists who can do multiple things, perhaps in search of what their true genius is. So I'll do a little bit of this, do a little bit of painting, do a little bit of dancing, do a little bit of music, a little bit of etc. Sculpture, fishing, the sexy, whatever the person thinks their thing is. See? You see, and then maybe we get to the point where one of the paradoxes show up is, well, the thing is nothing. And your access to what it is has to be based upon nothing you do, nothing you say, and nothing you believe you are, for it to be of itself. And you functioning then as a selfless channel to what it is, which then brings us into a Buddhist view. Reality is not self-limited or self-defined. It just is what is. That's abstract. That's a part of this process of discovering and becoming and realizing one's genius.
Yeah, my question then would be, does genius need to learn, or can it learn from anything else? And earlier we were talking about you playing with McCoy Tyner, and I was curious, did you learn anything from that experience?
Well, I learned that I could play with him, and not be afraid of it, and that opening to his abundance of musical genius, let's say, and power, become more like that. See, so there's an aspect there where there was an awakening of my own power there. A benefit, an advantage of having worked with McCoy was that I realized that genius creates genius. His genius excited mine, and he knew it, and he was smiling and laughing in return. And so we can be afraid of it, but we have to learn to embrace it at the same time. Because true genius is so deep, it can be frightening, because it is the potency of your own mind, your own intelligence, your own inheritance, right? And your own connection with the divinity at the creative level, which is a big question mark. What is the creative level? When does it start? When does it end? How does it show up? And why does it show up in the ways that it could show up? Sometimes does show up, and then why? See? This adds to the complexity and the mental sort of concern that musicians and artists have relative to their own functioning as a creative spirit, genius, worker, artist, whatever you want to call it, channel. See? So with McCoy, it was come along, Tisziji, come on, let's do it. And we did it, and it was great. We have press to prove it. But he and I just sprung off and flew to heaven, in a manner of speaking. See, I had no idea that was going to happen because I had never played with him before. I've heard his music, but I mean, this was like, climbing Mount Everest in my feeble mind at the time. McCoy Tyner, oh no. No way. Nonsense. Projection. BS. Self-consciousness. Doubt. Confusion. Now erase it all and get ready to rumble, so to speak, right, with your demons. Rumble with your demons. See? So artists have to figure out what the genius is in their case. Where, in their case, does it come from? In Indian philosophy, you have the chakra system, the Kundalini system of the ascending energy, the dragon within, starting from the crotch to the navel, etc. Solar plexus, heart, throat, forebrain, super spirit, about light. And some people say their work is coming from one or the other areas or dimensions of their own conscious awareness. And so this adds another aspect to the issue of genius, in that it can be a little thing like playing some piano, which might relate or express karma from a certain chakra in you. Maybe one chakra could be from your sex chakra, and it's an emotional, erotic thing for you to play piano or bass or whatever. Or it could be more. See? So the music can come from any of these centers, yet it is your whole body and your being. It is you. But in what way does the you we're talking about manifest itself as the music or art it's here to manifest? Question mark. What form does it take? Why? When does that change? When does it end? Right. Is this something you develop up to a certain point, then you have to stop what you're doing and then do something else? Is this part of your genius? See, is to stop and go? Or to go everywhere as far as your appetite to experience different levels of art, music, or genius carries you? It could be. See. Then there's the journey of the genius. See. Not just the dilemma and crisis of genius, but the journey of it, where you are in the flow of the genius, and you are at peace and at one with it, and then everything happens beyond your self-wishes. It's just like it carries you to where you need to go to, and in the way you need to be there, all by itself. And you're like saying, who's doing this? I didn't do it. And then you say, well, maybe spirit is doing it. Whatever spirit is. Can it do it? Of course. It is what genius is. Spirit. Force. Light. Creative. Action. Creating action. Ad infinitum. Not because of yourself or your mind, your heart or your gonads. It's got nothing to do with you. It's just here already. It's doing it. You can hear it. You can see it. It is what is. Life. 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 The genius is in fact beyond itself. Literally beyond the self of limitation. Completely. It's not about thinking. It's not about your image and what you wear or your muscles or any other objects on your body. It's not about that. All of it is used because it's not about that. So we can see it as a wave of light that can manifest through a human, and does manifest through a human in its own right, in its own time, in its own way, see, for its own purpose, and then it can drop the human flat. Boom, when it chooses to. And in some cases, the human then has to start a new life after it gets out of the hospital or insane asylum, which is what happens. They burn out. That's part of the genius. That's part of its beauty. It will use you up, burn you out, exhaust you, right? Destroy your egoic understanding of who you are and what it is. See? And let you know it has nothing to do with you as a self. See? So dig it for what it is. Kind of like the sun. The fire within. Well, it's possible that your research, to include Bill Evans on the piano, is attracted to his beauty, His grace, and His mindfulness, self-consciousness. Yeah, so it takes you so far. And then it leaves you there. It doesn't go beyond that. See? So it's more conservative, more deliberate, more compositional, and more true to his ideas and his discipline and what he loves. And my playing with McCoy Tyner was his love of form, all the things that Bill loves, discipline, structure, and then it's all burnt. There are those moments when it's gone. See, like he steps out of himself and goes beyond the piano as something of form, and becomes something more of sound and the universe. And that's because he gained his degree in freedom from his teacher, and the great one. JC himself. As a student of the piano, be pleased with simplicity. Master simplicity as a step, not as a limit, not as a reflection of your ability or lack of creativity if you think that way. See? That's a step. Just one of maybe infinite steps, depending on what you open to and feel you are able to move into and handle for yourself in the harmony of your body, mind, and the instrument. Harmony. Not the struggle, but the harmony. Crying is singing. Crying is song. Crying is the truth of the soul. As anguish and bonded to the body. Sometimes works for it, and sometimes obstructs the function, aspirations or dreams or wishes of the soul, which seeks freedom and liberation from the world. Being as it is of that which is beyond this world of matter, the soul is more related to the spirit than matter. It is the spirit of life itself, so given to each in due measure, in proportion to the karma or gravity of one's living circumstance. See? Debt to life, or debt to family, or debt to civilized world. Maybe debt to the solar system, maybe debt to the universe.
Yeah, Bapu, I know that you had an initiation from the Miraculous 16th Karmapa back in 1976 in New York.
Correct.
And, yeah, I was wondering if you can talk briefly on that experience.
Well, it's taken me back to 1976 when I was playing jazz in New York City, and I was playing with a bunch of guys. I guess rehearsing for a gig, something like that. And everybody was smoking and having a good time and stoned out. And then we broke up, and I had to come back downtown from where I was. And so I had my guitar with me, and full of the jazz vibes, as much as, could be the case in that time. And walking down what seemed to be, let's say, 23rd Street, Manhattan, Midtown Manhattan. And I see a woman standing out on the street, and she has like oranges in her arms, oranges. So she's handing oranges out. And so I found that to be curious. I was actually hungry. And so I saw her, and she said, "Oh, here, take an orange." And then she pushed me. She said, "Please go inside there. They need to see you in there." And it was a hall, like an auditorium someplace. And when I went into this room, because I followed her, I mean, I was in the right condition to be influenced, right? And so, lo and behold, there was a ceremony going on. I think it was the first of its kind, including the Karmapa and Chogyam Trungpa and Khyentse Rinpoche, or maybe a whole bunch of other dignitaries of the Tibetan Dharma. This was a very, very powerful day and situation. And the Karmapa was up there with two lamas, one on the left and right side, and they're playing shanais, and I'm there with my guitar. And I said, "What is this? What is going on?" And it was great, but then I got hit with this presence. That is, I had awakened into the presence of the Karmapas, right? And it was like just light. It was like nobody was there. Yet I was there with them playing these shanais. Perfect. Perfect setup. Thank you, Karmapa. Right? And it was just awesome. It was like gone. My life had changed from one stage to another stage. Because the lamas that were there represented silence, awareness, conscious being, enlightenment. They were representing enlightenment and transmitting that with the Karmapa to the people there with whom I was present during that time, received it, and I haven't been the same since. The raw of the Buddha, so to speak. Yeah, no, it's beautiful. It was miraculous. He's called the 16th miraculous. He was miraculous. Happy, right, as a being could be. Right? May the blessings be.